I am recording. Thank you, Liz. And Liz is in charge today, not me.
You just have to help me.
Whenever you want it, I'll help you.
Cool. So today, first of all, the slides that I'm going to show you are in the Padlet. So I've attached them there and you can make your own copy. So they're in our Padlet, which is the TWR study group, how to teach reading and spelling. So there's a link in there for you today. Let's go back to, I'm just going to share my screen and go into the slides. So today, what I thought I'd do was, since we've been talking about writing and particularly in non-fiction text, can you repost the link again? I haven't posted it in the chat. It's in the Padlet, Lisa. If you go and log into Padlet, yeah.
Yeah, I think you might have posted before I came in.
Yeah, it's the 9th of October meeting. I didn't post it in the chat because I haven't got access to the chat, I don't think.
What do you want me to put down?
The link is, the link is in, have you got the Padlet link, Lisa?
I don't. I think I don't have any links.
Okay.
I'm gonna try and see if I can do this.
Yeah, if you can put if I can find chat, hang on, I've got it. Let's try that in there.
I've got the I can post it.
There's the Padlet link.
Oh,
Yeah.
perfect. Got it. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
So, and so the very last the last entry in there says 9th of I've probably put, have I put October and November? Hopefully I put November in there, and I've put the slides in. Cool. Now I've lost to share my screen. I'm going to get out of chat so I can find share. Right down, it's moved. Great. Okay, let's go into here. So this is the Padlet. I've put October.
November, okay.
That's okay. You can see it in there. So there's a copy of the slides in there. I'll change that later. That we're going to use today. So I thought we've been talking about the writing revolution, and that mainly talks about like non-fiction text and there. So I thought I would look.
A second. It says I need access because I clicked on it on the link for the Google document. It says I need access.
Okay, right. Let me find the document. Just a second. Oh, it's hiding under the. No, it's going to be a pain. There it is. There. Okay. Okay. Share. Access updated. So if you try again.
Okay, hold on. Let me try.
Yeah. Can you see my screen now, Sasha, with the slides?
Not this second. No, I'm seeing all the faces.
Okay, that's all right. I'll go back to share screen now. I can get it in there.
There it is. Yeah, there you are.
Okay, so Linda, were you able to access those slides?
Can you see the slides, Linda?
You asked me if I want to make a copy of it. Yes.
Yeah. Can you make a copy? Yeah.
I clicked on it and see what happens. Yes.
Okay, great. It should make a copy then. Wonderful.
Yes, expanding vocabulary knowledge. Yes.
Yeah. So I'm going to share, two bits of my practice with you, which is looking at vocabulary through fiction text, because we've been looking at nonfiction and the writing revolution for quite a while. And I know when we were talking about the writing revolution that Linda and I were kind of talking about how we would usually use the writing revolution kind of activities inside a unit in a unit of writing work. So that's what I'm sharing with you today. I'll start with some research and then I'll go in to share what, this is one of my little writing group that I've got with 3 students and what they've been doing with fiction and trying to expand vocabulary in there and of course kind of up level their writing because their writing is below grade level there. So I thought we'd just start by looking at a bit of research in vocabulary in particular. So I've got a number of slides on research. I have tried to kind of keep away from all the stuff because Sasha gave us so much great stuff in the course on vocabulary. So I've tried to keep away from in there, but touch on the bits to why I look at vocabulary in fiction in particular in here, where a lot of our research says to do it in reading to teach vocabulary and reading too, and to teach vocabulary explicitly. But I like the idea of here of using effective instruction and a variety of methods. So whenever I have the opportunity to teach vocabulary, I try and use that so that I'm hitting that variety of methods and trying to hit as many new words as I can working with the kids. And so over time, increasing that word knowledge over time, which is what this little piece is saying from the reading panel. So yeah, I'm not just hitting vocabulary instruction in non-fiction text, we do it in fiction text, we do it in reading too, we do it in guided reading, we do it in incidental, in oral language. I try and hit it as many times as possible. A number of the schools that I work with are in my area are considered low socio demographic schools where language and vocabulary on school entry is low. And we also have a variety of students, diverse students from refugees from overseas in my area. So language and vocabulary is really important. And so I just try and hit it in so many a variety of ways and there. And so this is the research from the reading panel and what they say. And of course, it's all those things we know about direct instruction, repetition, multiple exposures. And in particular here, I like the learning in rich context. And that's why I find the looking at vocabulary and writing in fiction text allows me to hit those rich contexts really well, and contexts that the kids are above their grade level. So vocabulary and authentic text that they wouldn't normally be hitting for their instruction in the classroom. Vocabulary tasks, yeah, should be restructured as the restructuring bit was, it took me a bit to get the hang of this one. What did I put down for here? Restructuring.
So I think
Basically,
I think what they're saying is that we really have to emphasize context, and what our students may know the meaning in one context, but in another context, the meaning would be nuanced and different. And it's that nuance, it's that gradient of meaning that we have to pay attention to and can
Yes,
pay attention to when we're doing it in fiction.
absolutely. Thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah, and definitely that it entails that rich, and I really want the kids to be engaged in what we're doing, and active engagement and there. And that's another issue that I find a lot with the kids that I work with that are below grade level, is of course their motivation is kind of waning in there. And often when they come to me, they tell me they hate writing. Yeah, they don't like writing and they hate writing. Yeah, so I want to kind of hit on that. The research, yeah, from the National Reading Panel, you know, really stated once again, that rich context, the repetition, the direct instruction, the engaging, the variety, the multimedia. We're not going to hit into that. And that's kind of what Beck is saying. And here again, we see the same things coming through. That's her summary of the reading panel research. And in here, we know her steps to teaching explicit instruction and teaching it, taking words and teaching them explicitly. We covered a lot of that with Sasha's course, so I'm not going to cover that today, but I've popped it in there, and also a lovely video for you to have a look at of Anita Archer, who of course is the queen of explicit teaching, and her wonderful work on explicitly teaching vocabulary in there. But I'm going to, because I'm keeping into context, and in that fiction context, then we're not going to go through this and today, but I wanted to pop it in there for you. But I wanted to look at, and I know you very much looked at the this work of Haynes in here, and looking at where we find the rare words that we need. Well, fiction text has a lot of rare words. That's why when we read picture books and chapter books to kids, we find a lot of words that are not in their oral vocabulary. There's a lot more rare words. And so in here we can see the score for children's books is really high. And even in New Zealand, yeah, our students, I'm not sure what it's like in the States or Canada, but right up to high school, they're expected to actually still write fiction. So they're expected for their national exams and qualifications right up to they're 18 years old. In their English exams, they're still expected to write poetry and to write fiction text.
Wow.
And to study them. So as well, to be able to analyze them as well. So in New Zealand, then our kids are not just looking at nonfiction once they hit high school. So I'm not sure if that's the same for you guys or not. Linda, do you know anything?
What I will say is that I know in New York, and I'm thinking that in any state that has the Common Core, well, next generation is mainly nonfiction, mainly.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. That's right. And so, and that's what I kind of thought. I think it's maybe probably a New Zealand and Australian probably model more, but that's why I keep teaching fiction text as well, and looking at vocabulary and fiction text, is because our kids need it going forward through into high school. And there, of course, we can learn vocabulary through incidental word learning, through those teacher read alouds, as I kind of mentioned before. And there's a lot of work out there about incidentally covering those as those words come up in the text as you're reading to children. And there, yeah, continually kind of exposing kids to those rare words as they come up as you're reading the text to them. One of the things I know we looked at before was Mazzano's. He
Mhm,
has 4 stages of knowing a word in
mhm,
there. And the stage 1 is I don't know anything about it. Stage 2 is I think I've heard that before, or I've seen it before. The 3rd stage is I know a bit more about this, and maybe I could use this a little bit. And the 4th stage is I can actually explain to you what that word means and bring that back. If we're doing that incidental word learning in there, then we're helping the kids to continuously kind of move children maybe up that stage. They mightn't get to where I can explain it through
mhm.
incidental word learning, but they might move a whole heap of vocabulary from I've just heard that to, oh, maybe I could now, if I see that in my reading, I know what that means, and perhaps I could use that word in my writing.
Mhm,
So the incidental word learning is really good for moving words up that continuum. And really it's the Beck's levels in here will help kids get to that final level, which is the idea of getting the kids way down to that
mhm.
understanding through explicit teaching. Yeah. Sasha, did you have something you wanted to say about
I was thinking of one of my students, and
that?
um, and Sarah, and she was in high school, and I was thinking about all of the because we did a lot of vocabulary with her because that was one of the areas that was really challenging for her, and
Yeah.
we started to do it seeing in her books, but I also had her writing in her book and doing all kinds of things, from morphemes to parts of speech to context to multiple meanings. And what started to happen, which is such a miracle, is she started hearing those words in her classes and in the real world. And
Mm.
it like ignited her curiosity. And that's that igniting of curiosity, which I'm saying to myself how valuable this is to hear, Liz, about using it in fiction, because fiction is like real life.
That's true.
Mhm.
It's true. And our oral vocabulary, like particularly of adult oral vocabulary, is that's what the kids are hearing. And so it really helps for them to be able to gain more of those words and push
Mhm.
them up the levels so that it's
Yeah.
not even if it comes up in another time, like you say, in another context. Again, it's probably that restructuring that we were talking about before. Comes up in another context, and they can say, oh yeah, I've heard that, that's right, that was in that book and they were talking about, and it meant this in that book. Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah. So yeah. So in here, one of the things that the researchers found was that what was really valuable was that talk around those books, or those rare words in the books and there. And so we know a lot of those come up in our children's not only children's nonfiction, but in the picture books and the chapter books, which is kind of where we're kind of heading today. And
Mhm. Mhm.
so the
Mhm.
value of the talk around those words is what really promotes the vocabulary growth. Yeah. And cool. So once kids are reading on their own, and we know once they can have that stamina for reading chapter books and things like that,
Mhm.
that will help to build their vocabulary on its own. But the children that I see, they're not up there yet. So often the kids that I see that are below grade level, Many of them are still working in decoding words. They're still working at a code level down there. So they're not working at a level where they're reading enough, they're not getting enough volume to actually increase their vocabulary size yet. And there. So I have to look at other ways to increase their vocabulary, because they're not going to get it from, some of them will even, pick up a book and do that pretend reading, and looking like, so they haven't actually chosen a book that they can read, but they'll pick a book that's a chapter book way beyond them and sit there and read and look like they're reading and there. And so, yeah, of course, that's not going to help their vocabulary. So I need to look at other ways that I can do it in there. The other thing in here in this little quote is it talks about that we need to use text that challenges kids. That's where they're going to pick up new vocabulary and more interesting vocabulary. So when I'm working in fiction writing, I always select a text to look at that is above their writing level. Okay. And depending on, how far I think I can stretch them in there to how far above I push it in there. If the kids are really low, then I'm not going to give them a text that's way up here above their level. I'm going to come down to just above, especially until I can get their confidence up and they feel like they're being supported in the lessons. And then I can slowly start stretching the text out that I use with them and there. But for starters, when I start with a new group of kids in writing, then usually I keep that text just above them to give them enough so that there's enough challenge in there. Even in the reading of that text, there's a bit of challenge, but there's enough challenge in the writing and how it's been written that they can use it to work on, but not too hard.
That must be a hard thing to gauge.
I think it's just from really looking at assessments, and I tend to get, collect writing samples as part of my assessment, and really analyzing that first writing sample to seeing what can they do totally on their own, and then using that to actually look for a text that's above that, that's got enough challenge but not too much challenge.
So one of the things that I did when I was a teacher actually is that I had students create what I call them the key of knowledge, right? Which was their words that they came across that they didn't know, and they had to learn them, right? So I mean, I think that there are explicit ways of doing it. You have to do it multiple ways, right? And so we did the coding stuff, but then we did the sight vocabulary things, and then they just came across words that they were reading in the book that they didn't know, and I had them do some other things with it, like what's the context, what's the definition, and all this kind of stuff. But then by the end, they had like a whole bunch of cards, on this little hook that looked like, I call it the key of knowledge, and it increased their vocabulary. And then it's a lot of different things that I did. I did read alouds, and then I put words there, that we learned, that they learned to include. And when they saw it, they said, "Oh, Miss Green, the word of the day was up there. It's in my story," or something, So I do think, and I'm listening, I'm just reaffirming what you're saying, that it has to be multiple, I call it multiple streams, right? How do you include writing and reading, right, together, number one, right? How you make that connection for them. That's how they also learn words. So even doing writing, they had to have their little key of knowledge for writing, so I think that and people have moved away from them. I don't see this happening in schools you know, at all.
Yeah,
So Linda, I'm thinking I really like the hands-on key of knowledge. You know,
yeah,
you've made your own key, you've made a key of knowledge, and I can imagine you saying, okay, we're writing about this. Let's find some words on our key of knowledge that go into this category of what we're reading about right now, and how can you take 4 of those words and make sure you include them in what you write now, right?
Yes, they did have to, yes, yes. They had to use
And
them.
that is it's super.
yeah. And that's that
Mhm.
exposure again, isn't it?
Yes.
It's using those
Uh-huh.
words again, because we know that I think it's on average they need about 12 exposures. I
Mhm.
think Lozano says it's about 12 exposures to a vocabulary in different ways.
And I think
And
around
yeah,
that time, that's where I read some research about that, right? And I was like, oh, how can I give them as many exposures, right? So
yeah,
and
that's right. Yeah. Now there's a little bit in here about yeah, the kinds of reading necessary to produce vocabulary growth and things like that. Yeah, and see, we're talking about down here, we need to do enough to, you know, so the kids know the words well enough to access information about them from memory as they read. And that's what you were just giving us an example of a way of doing that, Linda, of hitting those words again in something we're doing. I'm not going to there's a little bit more in here about choosing words from instruction and about tier 2 words that we use. But I'm going to go on to show you what my kids have been doing this term in writing in here and how we've done it actually in a lesson. So the links on your screen, these are from I used a little video from the Literacy Shed. It is a subscription based website, but it has a few free videos and a few free writing units on there that you can access, and this is one of them. It's called Something Fishy, and there. Now, I haven't done a video on here, so I don't know if I'll be able to actually watch it. Can I copy the maybe if I put it in here, can I put it in here and see if I can go?
it should.
Yeah, let's have a look. Let's see if we can watch this little video. So there's a text that goes with this video, and that's what we used that's what we used as our mentor text for the writing that we are working on at the moment. But I'll just play this and let's see if it goes. See if you can hear it. Can you hear it?
Yes.
Great.
It's a little low.
I think those are mine.
What did you think of that one?
That was cute.
It's good, eh?
Mhm.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
as I was looking at that, I was like, I was thinking of activities, what you could do with that. It's a lot of
Yeah.
stuff. There's a
There
lot of stuff.
is a lot of stuff in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's I just can't oh, that's it. I've moved the bar. Yeah, it's a portal. Of course, you know, the washing machine becomes a portal story. So, and of course it's got a lot of suspense in it. So that was really our focus. We were going to be writing a portal story and using suspense as our writer's tool that we had to incorporate into our text in here. So yeah, that was their hook, was watching the video was their little hook. There's a whole unit of work in there that's on those links. And
Liz,
you can see.
Liz, can I give you a suggestion? You know,
Yeah.
how to reinforce. And so as I was looking at it, I was like, oh, this is a great opportunity to get them to even think about speech text, right? Right. And so she's making those gestures. So what words could she have been saying? You know what I'm saying? And then, you know, creating like a little cartoon. They create a little cartoon of maybe their favorite part of it or something, and use that bubble, the speech bubble, to create. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I was like, wow, that would be fun.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And you could do all of that. Yeah, that's right. It leads itself to a lot of things. But
Yes.
yeah, my ultimate goal with this group was to write a portal story, using the text as our mentor text that we were looking at. So the text comes in the unit in there. So it's 6 paragraphs long, the text. And we're going to look at like one of the paragraphs coming up very shortly.
Can you tell me, because I'm not sure what a portal story is.
So a portal, meaning that you go into another world somehow. Yeah, so you've gone from this world into a fantasy world or into another world, or you've ended up in another place. If you think about
Harry Potter.
Doctor Who,
And
the
yes.
TARDIS, you know, and there, that sort of idea of, or the magic door where you open the door and you go through to another world. Yeah. So writing a portal story, but yeah, and there. So yeah, what's cool about them is they start off like very ordinary. So everything seems, that's how it's meant to be written. So everything seems like it's just an ordinary day, and then of course, yeah, something happens. Somehow you find some way through the portal, and the portal can be anything. In that case, it was a washing machine. Yeah.
So is that literally a term that is used as a genre in literature, a portal story? Because I'm thinking of ones now, you know, like The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Exactly.
It's a portal story.
It is.
I'd never
Yeah.
known that term. Yeah.
I use I don't know if you're going to be able to see that now. They've got so close. This book is called Creating Storytellers and Writers, and it's a Pi Corbett book. He's the guy I was telling you about from England, and that I base most of my writing on, which comes from talking, storytelling, and writing, and that key. And yeah, in there under fiction, they that's one of like their subgenres under fiction is a portal story. There's also there's others like a warning story, where you're warned not to do something. I've used that before with the kids, where at the start of the story that story has a lot of dialogue in it. So
Right.
it's about like two boys, and their mum tells them they want to go somewhere like down the river, and mum tells them, oh, be careful of don't go on the old rope swing, you know, because it's not safe. So what do? They go down the river, they go on the rope swing, and then whatever happens, one gets into trouble usually, and they have to try and help them. In the end, they are okay. They go back home, they tell mum what's happened, and she's like, well, I told you, you know. And
so
so you get, you know, there's some consequence to that, or punishment, or something else in a warning story.
What was the name of the book again and the author?
The book is called Creating Storytellers and Writers by Pi Corbett and Julia Strong. So there's some links to Pi Corbett's stuff on the Padlet.
Great.
Yeah, and I can put this one in there.
Julia, what was the last name?
Julia Strong. Yeah.
Strong.
So this is talk for writing, and so it's a teacher text, but it gives you all of those different types of subgenres and things like that. It gives you some sample model text, and it gives you a whole lot about teaching things like suspense and characters and settings, and yeah.
And I think that one of the other thing that I think what's happening, I know in New York, I don't know in the rest of the United States, but I'm assuming that's probably because we have a very high literacy rate in this country. But I think that because they took fiction really out of the curriculum, basically, they don't teach it a lot. And, and that's where kids learn to read and really learn to write stuff because they like it. And they focusing on nonfiction so much that we need to bring that back into to the curriculum. You know, because this stuff, it excites me, right? If I'm excited, I'm like, wow, you know, and the kids don't have that excitement anymore.
I think there needs to be a balance, you know, always.
Yes,
yeah. And in talk for writing, they usually do a fiction text, like for part, like say for like 5 weeks working on a fiction text, and then they do a non-fiction text, and it'll be something similar on the similar lines to that. And you use a lot of the same kind of writer's tools in both of them. So it gets you to use them in the fiction text and then in the non-fiction.
Nice.
So he always pairs them up. Yeah. And and he says that the fiction text is slightly easier for kids. And so if they can learn some of those writers' tools inside the fiction text, then when they go to do the non-fiction, they just find it a little bit easier, and there's less to learn in there. Yeah. So yeah, we'll have a look at some of those things. So in Pi's work, the first thing that we do is we look at, we've got to understand the text that we're reading. So we've got to read it like a reader. We've got to comprehend it. And so that's where once again, we're doing that a little bit of, like, for starters, I'm reading to the kids. I read it, and then we discuss the words and the vocabulary in it. And then I get the kids starting to read along, and I put some of the words in bold print, or some of the phrases in bold print, or whole sentences in bold. And so I start off, then we reread it again. I read my line, they read the bold bits. And then we read it together, and then we read it, we take turns at reading it and there. But every day that we come together, we read, and for the kids that I work on, we read the paragraph that we're working on. Like, I will have read them the whole text to start, but because we're working paragraph by paragraph, then we'll just keep reading that one while we're working on it. And the kids get to know the paragraph so well that they can actually quote the sentences out of it.
Nice.
And when they can quote the sentences out of it, they can switch words in those sentences and create their own sentences. So they can actually use it to imitate. Yeah, in there. And that's the idea. So yeah, like some of the words that come up in paragraph 1 are strange, noticed, surely, and there. Just have a look. I think I've got paragraph 1 down here. So paragraph 1 is just in this little box here.
Sorry, guys, I have to answer this. I'll be right back.
It's okay. Paragraph 1 is just in the little box down the bottom that says, I went to the laundrette to do my washing because it was Wednesday. Wednesday was washing day. I was tired as it was late. Suddenly I noticed something strange inside the washing machine. It was a fish. Oh, it was a fish. Was I dreaming? It can't be a fish. Surely it was just a sock. So that's paragraph 1. So we do a lot of talking about it and that comprehension first. Yeah. And
Is that related to the video?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's, and it comes in that unit in there. That there was a link to here.
Great day.
So there's the lesson plans in there. Is the writing text is in there, but I think it stopped at one point and I wrote the rest of it myself to finish off. So we had 6 paragraphs and we got the whole story then.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's go back to here. So yeah, we start with reading it because they've got to understand the vocabulary first. That's the most important thing. Before we can use a text for writing, we've got to understand it in there. We collect words from out of it. So we collected, these are like some of the writing tools that we could use. And we collect them inside a scrapbook. As we're reading anything, we collect words, we collect vocabulary for all these sorts of things.
And what's magpie?
So magpie means, so yeah, you might have magpies in the States, but magpies are birds in, well, definitely in England and Australia and New Zealand that like to collect shiny things.
Oh, okay.
So they were going, if you left a watch outside, don't expect it to be there when you come back because they might have taken it. You find a lot of rings and things like that in magpies nests in New Zealand and things, tin foil, all sorts of shiny things. Yeah, they collect. So it's the same sort of thing. It's just Pi, who developed the talk for writing, talks about, yeah, magpieing words, taking words from other books that you've read, that you're reading to, that you hear, and collecting those words and writing them down so you can use them again. So I just keep a scrapbook of, and we collect words. Ooh, we collect words in the scrapbook, and whenever we're reading other books, chapter books and things like that, we are looking for these kinds of words that we can add to it. Once the kids know what they are, like empty words, they start to, it's that hearing the words everywhere in those different contexts that we were talking about. So I might be reading a chapter book and they'll go, Liz, they said somebody. They didn't say who it was. They said somebody. That's an empty word. Or, oh, they use it. We don't know what it is. That's an empty word. Or something. Yeah. So they start collecting them and writing them down, because when they go to write then, and they know they have to use an empty word somewhere in the paragraph, they'll go and go back to it, and they'll go back to the list and they'll look for those. Yeah.
So
can you define that for me? Because I'm not totally sure. I got
about an empty word.
it's like an indefinite article.
Yeah.
It's very indefinite. You don't know what it refers to. It's the pronoun and you don't know what it's referring to. And that's really hard for a lot of kids. What, can you define openers? I'm sorry, I bet you did this. I love this.
Openers are just like the first word in a sentence.
Oh, okay.
So if it, like, here's our first paragraph, which is the one in the box on the left.
Uh-huh.
So the opener in here is just I for the first paragraph, and then we've got Wednesday, and then suddenly, and then it, and then was, and then it, and there. So those are the openers. And of course, the kids learn which are the better ones in there. Sometimes we just need a plain old word like I or that in there. But if we had all just I sentences, I went to the laundrette, I had to do my washing, it was Wednesday, I was tired, I noticed something, it was a fish. It becomes stilted and boring. So they learn about quality openers, and particularly openers that end in ly and ed and ing.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so if we use those for first words, then yeah, and there's other openers that you can use as well, like using dialogue, like getting straight into dialogue or a sound or things like that.
And so is this all in this book, Creating Storytellers and Writers?
Yeah,
Wow.
there's lots about those sorts of things.
This is exciting stuff.
Yeah,
I've never learned any of this.
yeah.
Right.
And so like Linda was saying before we even go to write, we do a lot of work on like grammar is all kind of combined into what we're doing. Yeah, there. So it's all a part of it. So before we go to write, we're going to do a lot of work around words. And because one of the things we're expecting the kids to do is come up with those words on the spot as they go to write. And that's hard. I find that hard as a writer, that kind of rapid naming of being able to come up with a whole lot of words. I know particularly I'm not good at that. When I'm in a workshop with teachers, I'll be the last one to come up with the words. So for me, I find that hard. So if I can work on that sort of stuff with the kids in our warm-up kind of each session, then that helps them as well. And this was just a simple one. We just talked about the story and what were all the nouns, like in the video, what were the nouns that we could, what did we see? What were the nouns from the text? What were the nouns, to do with under the sea, things like that. So these are two different sessions. So one warm-up was just, how many nouns can you think of, remember from the text? And the other one was just, name some nouns from under the sea. And the coins one was from the video. Because I don't know if you noticed, but you probably didn't notice, but when she was going back through the forest, all the little laundrette tokens were the trees. They were like, she was going through the tokens, and the kids showed me that one. I didn't pick that up. They did. They picked it up. Yeah, but doing this, it's just like, list down as many things as you can, and I give them like 2 minutes. Yeah, and it all helps to get them kind of doing that fast thinking that they have to do for writing. And there, here's a little bit about openers, Sasha. So in the warm-up, we looked at paragraph 1 and we looked at those words and we were saying what were good words, what were the best openers, why were they the best? And you can see this little one, she's put yes and a smiley face next to Wednesday, and yes next to suddenly. So they were able to trying to get the kids to pick out what are those quality bits, what are those bits they could magpie, what could they pinch. Yeah, and then we talked about when would you use suddenly, about that change happening in a fiction story. Something different changes. So when are we going to use that? So we have to, that's a good word to use when that happens, when something, we go from that ordinary to the odd. Suddenly is a good word. And we learned how to spell suddenly too, because they needed it for their writing. Yeah.
This is really fun stuff. This is really fun stuff.
And we looked at connectors, because and as and surely. The kids spotted those in paragraph 1. And this is all in our warming up, looking at those sorts of things. I mean, you might be looking at adverbials or things like that. You might bring in that real grammar, like the technical side of it, but sometimes we don't. I just keep it to connectives, and that's all the kids need to know is when they're connecting the sentence. Or we do talk about when they're at the start of a sentence, sometimes when we find them and they're at the start of a sentence, like then and as, those kind of adverbials. Yeah.
And even if they're doing different lessons based on the same little text, you know how many words they're going to learn? Well,
Yeah,
because
that's right. And we're just using that little paragraph, and we're going back into it again and again and again. And the kids are learning the paragraph as they go. Here's a little bit of vocabulary from in here. So we use the word noticed from the paragraph. And so first of all, they just did like a brain dump of, how many words can you write down that also mean noticed? And then they did their word climb in there. Yeah, so they put them from worst, look down here, to the best. Yeah, in their book and there. And so once again, this is another way of just magpieing those words. So when they go to write, they can come back, and instead of using see or look or even spotted, they might use one of these words up here, further up. Yeah. Yeah. And they love doing these, because actually the kids love drawing in their books too. Yeah.
Now, I have a question, Liz. The words that you put here, did you giving them these words and then you explored them and then you decided where they would go on the?
No, the kids came up with them.
Wow.
If you look in here, they've actually, a lot of them, because once again, it's that idea that some of them have got them, they've heard them before, but it's actually about retrieving them from the mind and doing that. So as a group, we shared them, which ones they came up with, and then they wrote down the other, what the other kids came up with as well. They put it onto theirs. Yeah. So you can see this little girl, I think she wrote in it glimpsed up the top. This was her little brainstorming here, and she had put them in here. Yeah. Observed. Yeah. Looked, saw, spotted. Yeah. But she's added glimpsed in from somebody else's. Yeah.
Beautiful.
So once again, it's that talk around it as well. So having to do that talk together. Here's another one. So this was strange. So he used the shark man from the video. Yeah, putting it out of this world. It was at the top there. Strange, out of this world. Yeah. So in another one, yeah. So she's put also that these were boring words down this end. Yeah, different, strange, out. It's meant to be out of place. Yeah, weird. Okay, so yeah, looking at the vocabulary in the paragraph and within the warm-ups each session, and these are some other warm-up activities that we've done. So in here, the idea is to actually front load the kids as much as possible before they go to write, because we know that writing has this real cognitive load that's even more than reading. So the more that we can work on the types of words that they can use, phrases and sentences before they write, then the easier it is they find to write, and the quicker that they'll actually retrieve the words. Yeah, so these are just some of the little activities we did. So in the story it said I was that they were tired, so I just said tired as, yeah, could we think pair share to other reasons to why the girl was tired? It said she was late in the story. So why else would she be tired? Oh, maybe she sat up, watched TV all night. Oh, maybe she was at a party. Maybe she was, yeah, and we did a whole lot of reasons for that, so that when they go to write, they also are thinking, oh, what's my character going to be? Yeah. And you can see that down here, rather than being tired, what could our character be feeling? So this is another session, just a quick warm-up, 2 minutes, So what could our character be feeling? Hungry, lonely, joyful, stressed. So we're starting to get some ideas into their head. They're starting to brainstorm some things that they could use for their writing. Yeah, what other words could we use instead of something strange? Those empty words. What were some of those? Yeah, we looked at, yeah, we visit, that's right. Some of the vocabulary that we looked at, a bit like Linda's idea. So I keep a track of the words that we'd looked at, and we wrote them on cards, and then we acted them out and guessed what they were acting out. And that was just another way to revisit them again. Another context. So multiple context, same words. Yeah, from a rich piece of writing and there, and yeah, we're looking at it in another way. Yeah. Yeah, now also I put in here, so this is where you would do your the writing revolution activities could come in, like because but so activities for a warm-up. You can still do it in fiction. Yeah. And so does anybody else have one of the other activities that we could do in here for a warm-up from the writing revolution stuff that we've done?
You could have it as a, one of them, they talked about writing a question sentence with the same idea, a declarative and an imperative. Was it declarative and imperative? So we could do it different type, they call it the 4 types of sentences.
Yeah, 4 types of sentences, yeah. That's right. Yeah, writing it a different way. Also, there's things like the sentence scrambles.
Right. And sentence combining.
Yep.
I'm thinking also, wouldn't it really be cool? You take your paragraph. One of the things that I like so much about this approach is taking off one paragraph and doing so many things with it.
Yeah. In Talk for Writing, the kids learn the paragraph by this. I've kind of changed it to fit with the time frame that I've got and the kind of kids that I've got. But they actually draw up a story map with pictures, and the kids learn the story map in there so that they can recite it. They recite the paragraph, and they'll actually be able to recite the whole story using the story map. I don't have the time frame to do that. So this is my way of doing it, is if I can, in my warm-ups, we can go back into that paragraph, go back in again, reread it again, go back in, do a little activity to do with it. Yeah, hit it every time, every session I see them, they start to pick up the language of it. And you'll see that in a moment when I show you the kids writing from the first paragraph. But yeah. And there, so yeah. Oh, look, see, there's the sentence types. See, good, very clever. This is another one that we did. So I really try to focus on what's going to help them for their writing. So as part of our planning for their writing, one of the things we thought about was how could we use this alliteration? Because in the original paragraph, it said it was Wednesday, and Wednesday was washing day, and using the washing machine was the machine for the portal. So we filled out this little I've lost the word, table in here of days of the week, and they came up with different chores they could do on the different days of the week, and what sort of machines might be in there that they could use as a portal, to their stories. So Monday, morning dishes, and they'd have a dishwasher as a portal. Tuesday, taking kids to dancing day, and the car would be the portal. That was from our original story, the washing day. Thursday was the gardening and the watering can was the portal.
Mhm.
This was my story that I was going to write for them, so I added it in. Friday was floor freshening day, and I'm going to use the vacuum cleaner as a portal. And they come up with some others. Yeah, Saturday shopping day, an ATM, Sunday supermarket, and using we have lockers at our supermarket to pick up when you do shopping online. You have a little locker with a little code you put in, and you pick up your shopping from outside the supermarket. So that's what they put there. Yeah, and thinking about places of interest, where could they go to in their portal? So by doing this outside there, we get preparing them still again for the writing. Yeah, so that was the little template.
Mhm.
Yeah. We also looked at the paragraph as if we were the writer. What did the writer do to write the paragraph and to create the suspense in particular? Because that was the area that we're looking at. And so these were some of the things that we came up with. So we brainstormed them together, rereading the paragraph, looking at it. And so those are the things that they're going to have to put in their writing. If we do that, we fulfill this part of being a writer, which is the whole idea of suspense, is to keep that reader guessing. If we can do this, then we can keep the reader guessing.
I love it.
Yeah.
This is so explicit and so systematic and yet so creative and fun.
It is. The kids love it. The
Yeah.
kids love it.
And it's very technical, right? So
It
when you think,
is.
you know, that they're learning something that a lot of people don't know, right? So it's like when people are writing stories, you're not necessarily thinking the technical piece of it. But as I'm sitting here, I was like, wow, this is what writers do, right? So
Yeah.
then they start seeing themselves as writers because I'm doing this.
That's right. And then here they were just comparing paragraph 1 to paragraph 2. What did the writer use in paragraph 1? And they used ellipses, empty words, suddenly. They had that ordinary to the odd going on, rhetorical questions. And then what did they use in paragraph 2? Well, we found that the same things were getting used. There were some extras, but the same things were getting used again. So that told the kids then we could keep using those throughout our story. We could use empty words again. We could use, ellipses again, and rhetorical questions and things. They don't just have to be used once. We can use them throughout the story, and this writer does. Yeah.
How long did you work on this single book? With all
Well, we haven't finished actually.
Okay.
We haven't finished. I've had them, and I only see them actually twice a week. And if one of them's away, we try not to go too far ahead because I try and keep them together. So we've had one away a couple of times. So we've actually only had about 12 sessions. Yeah, about 45 minutes.
It's wonderful. It reminds me so much of other work in comprehension where you're really going in depth on just one thing.
Yeah.
I like that.
It is. It's really related to comprehension, and that vocabulary is part of it. You've got to know the words, and you've got to know the words not only as a reader, but as a writer. So you've got to know what empty words are. You've got to know what rhetorical questions are. You've got to be able to get to where I try and get to the kids, till they get to that level 4, so they can explain to me, so now they're starting to go, what's a rhetorical question? Oh, it's when you ask a question, but you're not expecting an answer. It's when you're talking to yourself, or maybe you're thinking out loud. If they can say that back to me, then they can use it.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's not only the vocabulary in the story, it's the vocabulary about writing. Yeah, that's really important. Right. So this is our planning. Our planning for fiction and nonfiction is the same. It's just simply, it's like that 2-column notes. First column is what paragraph is it in, and the second column is what's happening in there, and that's it. So they use it for fiction and nonfiction. Yeah. And so you can see what we've done. We've just gone through and said, well, this is what we're going to follow to write a story. This is the same sort of thing that we have to do to write our story. So we have to have an ordinary day. It's an ordinary day doing a chore. And then the main character, which we just shorten to MC often in our planning, glimpses something unusual and then does some self-questioning. Is this real? So now the kids can go and use that to write paragraph 1. Yeah, which is what they did. You could see in here, I've showed them that's that. Oh, this is paragraph 2, but it's the same thing for paragraph 1. Yeah, what did we do? And then this is my writing, what I'm going to do for my writing, for my shared writing. And then this is the kids' idea. That's they put their planning in next to it. We did the same thing for paragraph 1. They did the same thing. We had original text, my text, and then their ideas for their planning of their story. Yeah. We do short burst writing as well. And I was going to do a bit of that with you, but I think we'll leave it because I don't want to go on too long. I wanted to show you their actual writing that they got to. That's another warm up of some of the vocabulary that we were doing in here. They were helping me with my shared writing for this one, for our warm up, because my portal was a vacuum cleaner. And I said, what would you find in a vacuum cleaner when you suck it up? So we could use all these things for when we go to do our writing. Yeah, which is next is actually doing, this is Pi Corbett here, doing shared writing with kids in here. How much time have we got today, Sasha?
Well,
Till how fast?
I'm sorry?
Till how fast?
Yes, exactly. Which is in 25 minutes? Am I right?
Cool.
Yep.
Sounds good. Right.
I have to tell you, Lynn, I'm so excited about it. I know you shared this with me and I didn't follow through, and now I'm so excited. I really will follow through. This is wonderful stuff.
So you can see what we're saying, like the writing revolution activities being part of a unit rather than just on their own.
Yes.
Yeah, because I just find this way the kids get it and they take those activities and then put it into their writing.
Yes.
Yeah, and it takes time to do that. What's it done for me? There's a little clip in here, I think. This looks like it. This is really short. Let's see if it's going to go. Pi's an expert on taking writing.
Would you recognize a sun dragon? Okay. Now, how are we going to start the next bit? On our thing here, we've got that they all had huge wings that were transparent. So what word or phrase will start the next thing? Would you recognize a sun dragon? Do I need the, or you will see, or I need a generalizer here? Most. Is it most or all? All sun dragons. All sun dragons. Now, have I repeated myself? Let's just have a look. Would you recognize a sun dragon? All sun dragons, all of them, all of them have, it was huge wings, wasn't it? Have huge wings. Now, we've got that bit about them being transparent. What word do I need to which, thank you, we're on a bit of a roll. The thing is to try and get a bit of pace through it, because the pace actually helps you get the flow in the writing. Would you recognize a sun dragon? All of them are huge wings, which are transparent. Okay. Now we've got the bit about the long tail. How can I add in an extra bit of information? What sort of signpost or connective do I need? Look at the paragraph. There are some there. Furthermore, that would do it. Furthermore. if you've got children who struggle, then if let's say you wanted to emphasize the signposts or the connectors, put them in a different color or underline them to draw their attention to them. Furthermore, it's one of those words which helps us add in more information. Would you recognize a sun dragon? All of them have huge wings which are transparent. Furthermore, what word do I need here? Yeah, it wouldn't do, it's got to be they. That's they, you see, is a generalizer. Furthermore, they have, I think we mentioned the tail, didn't we? They have a long tail. Now, how can I extend it? We had something about fanning. Okay, furthermore, they have a long tail, which is used to keep them cool, something or other like that. So I want to put the fanning bit in. How could I get that in? By, get rid of the full stop, by constant fanning. Let's reread it to make sure it flows. Would you recognize a sun dragon? All of them have huge wings which are transparent. Furthermore, they have a long tail which is used to keep them cool by constant fanning.
Yeah. So that's Pi taking a little bit of shared writing. I've never seen anybody do shared writing the way Pi Corbett does shared writing. Do you use it in the US?
I have never seen that. What I have seen is people and you like imitating a someone's writing, like writing like that author. Does that make sense? Which is essentially what you're saying, but you have I guess he has taught you and you're doing with your kids is analyzing it so well that you can imitate it.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. But you also don't need to imitate really close to it. If you know what's got to happen in the story, like what's got to happen in paragraph 1,
right,
and you know the tools you've got to use as a writer, you can either, like if you're struggling, you can stick to the original paragraph quite closely, but if you can move off that paragraph, it gives you the opportunity to actually create a bigger piece of writing. It's not, you don't have to just change some words and come up with another piece that's going to sound exactly like the first one.
Yeah.
And what I will say is that when I was a teacher, right, we used balanced literacy, right, and so shared writing was a tool that I used, however, never in this way, never in this context. And as I'm listening, I was like, oh, now there's a connection, because before, and when I was doing it, I didn't really see a connection. It was like, okay, do shared writing. So, okay, we're going to talk about, I could have started from the beginning. Okay, we're writing a story about, say, apples, right? It's nonfiction. And then we're writing it together as a class. That's the way that I was taught.
Right.
And so, but I'm seeing that how it can be used in other ways.
Yeah. So here was mine and here. And I'm sorry, because I often write in highlighters in my book with the kids. And so I'll just read it to you, but you can see we've changed it and crossed stuff out as we've gone. So I started, I was vacuuming my carpets, which later we changed to floors because it fitted with alliteration. So I was vacuuming my floors because it was Friday. Friday was floor freshening day. And then we added in later when we went down and we had to say, I didn't want my character to be tired. I said, oh, I chose hungry as my word. So I said, maybe I'll add in something about food. So when we went back and said, okay, Friday was floor freshening day, also fish and chip day. I was hungry. Oh no, let's think of some better words. Starving, they came up with famished. Famished, we're going to use famished because it fits with alliteration. Right. I was famished. So that's actually right. Yeah. And then suddenly I saw, and then I wrote what I saw, a planet orbiting the dust canister. And then the kid said, no, you can't tell them because it's got to be an empty word. So we, oh yeah, we can't tell them. Okay, cross that out. So we went, suddenly we changed saw to notice to glimpse. See, we used that cline again. So I modeled that and there, I found a word off my word cline, glimpsed. Suddenly I glimpsed something inside the dust canister. And then they said, no, let's use tank. They wanted tank. I said, okay, we'll use tank inside the dust tank. And then I told them what I thought I saw. It was a tiny planet with rings. It can't be a real planet. Surely it was just one of the kids' bouncy balls. For starters, they wanted to add in some adjectives, brown and blue, stripy bouncy balls. I said, do we need it? Do we need all of that? No, we could just use alliteration, just bouncy balls. So we crossed everything out. And then we added ellipses at the end. So that's our shared writing.
Mm-hmm.
That's very good.
So that gives the kids an idea of what then they have to do. So this is their writing in here that they came up with after that. I drove my sister's children to dancing. Thursday was taking kids to dancing day. I was stressed because we were late to dancing. Suddenly I caught a glimpse of a strange man in the car next to me. Now I was even more stressed. So I pulled over. I then got yelled at by the kids. I looked around. He was gone. Am I seeing things?
And what grade was this again?
So, okay, these are older kids. So they are the two this is a girl, that was a girl that's at 8.5. Yeah, but the text is actually, because their writing is still down as a 6-year-old writing. So I pitched the text at a 7-year-old level. Yeah. So the something fishy is meant to be up to 7 years. Yeah. And there. Here's another one. I went to the supermarket to do the shopping because it was Sunday. Sunday was shopping day. I was out of cash, so I went to the ATM. Suddenly the screen glitched and she came up with that word by herself. So that's that power of doing that retrieval. Suddenly she came up with this great word, glitched. Random numbers popped up on the screen. The numbers were making a picture. It was a monkey. OMG, it can't be. That's impossible. Pretty good, eh?
It's very good. It's very good.
Yeah, I drove the kids to the arcade because it was Friday fun day. Friday was time to have fun. We were bored as there was nothing to do at home. We were walking through the arcade, then suddenly a machine started to glow. Slowly it started to open like a door. A loud roar squeezed out. How is this possible? This boy's a bit older. He's 10 and he's on the Asperger's spectrum. And there. Yeah. But did he get it? He got it.
Got it.
Yeah. And then we did the same sorts of things with paragraph 2. Exactly the same stuff. Yeah. So I've added in here, of course, there's so many other resources on vocabulary and those sorts of things, and 2-column notes and phrases. We looked at some of these with Sasha. So I've just added in some keys to literacy that, of course, I've written, the new book, The Writing Rope. Yeah, so she's got a lot of stuff on like 2-column notes and a lot of things that are very similar to the writing revolution activities. Yeah, and Mazzano, you see a lot of the same things coming around again as well. Yeah, so some of his stuff on there. Cool. So that is my writing. We're just about out of time in there. So what do you think?
Brava.
Exactly.
Yes.
I am thankful that I attended this evening. I learned a lot from you. I didn't ask about the age because of the writing, because when I was reading it, you know, simplicity actually with authors create good books, right? And so it's the description that they create. I was like, wow, those are good stories. You know, they were very engaging. And so you did a wonderful job.
Mhm.
And when the kids read them back, they're a writer. They really feel like they're writers.
That was
Sure.
so wonderful.
Yeah,
You could
they
tell
can
them
hear.
they're published. You could tell them they're published authors and other people have read
Yeah.
it.
They can actually hear the difference.
Yes.
Yeah, and they sound like the original story a little bit, so you know they can hear that similarity in there, but I mean it's still their ideas, and it's still, you know, but they, you know, and at this stage they're hugging the text quite closely, but you know, as we go on, you know, and we do more sessions with them and we do some other units, then I'd expect them to move away from that text a little bit more and yeah, use the writer's toolbox, which they're getting the hang of doing, like adding in, even this time, the girl that wrote about the ATM, in the second paragraph, she was just off. She just knew what to do, and she'd already added in before I even looked. I was working with one of the other girls, and I looked up, and she's got ellipses and exclamation marks and empty words and ly openers, and she's got the whole lot already in there in paragraph 2. So yeah, so she was away. She's getting the hang of it. Yeah, I just use those tools and it will sound good. I'll sound like a writer. Yeah. Yeah, cool. I was going to show you some stuff around guided reading, but I think we'll probably be out of time, will we?
Yeah. I want to say I thank you because I'm very excited about learning these new ideas about teaching the different parts, and it will also make my enjoyment of reading even stronger, because when you can, there's always, you know, you get a book and you say, oh, this is a really good writer, but I can't say, oh, this is a really good writer because. And so what you're developing in this is a whole language around writing and
Yeah.
nonfiction that I've never been exposed to.
And often I go back into, you know, so when I'm writing suspense now, I've collected up a number of like spooky storybooks and things like that, because I can use those in the warm-ups to show the kids how this author wrote that rhetorical question. This is how this author used empty words. This is how this author went from ordinary, like the setting was, you know, just a glorious day and everything was fine, and then suddenly a storm comes in and you know something's going to happen. This is how they did it to make it create that suspense. And so I collect up little books, and we might just use a page or some sentences from those for our activities in the warm-up.
I'd love to hear about your collection. And I'm thinking that one of the things that I want to do is I want to get this book and read it and then go to my local library, which is really close to my house now. And they have a wonderful children's library, and just do the same thing, you know, because it's quite exciting. It's quite exciting. Yeah.
Yeah. I know there's one where I do look at, you know, kind of action stories, and you know, I've used it even in that warning story idea, is when you want action, you shorten the sentences. So you put lots of little short sentences together, okay, and it creates a faster action because the way you read it, it makes you, it seems like things are happening faster. And so, I've collected those from out of picture books and things like that, where picture books, picture book authors use that technique quite a lot. And so I'll photocopy just those pages, and we'll spend a session just looking at them and how they've used them in there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. Very
Yeah.
cool.
And then we can pinch those words and magpie them, put them in our scrapbook and keep them for when we go to write.
Mhm.
Yeah. Look at them again. Yeah.
I love
So yeah, that's vocabulary and fiction
Mhm.
text.
I love it.
I appreciate everything that you've said today. That's just amazing. And I hope I can take this. I have a bunch of kids that I'm working on with writing, and I think this would be a very fun activity to do with them. So I appreciate you being brave and sharing what you knew, or what you know,
Not a
rather.
problem.
Mhm.
Thank you so much.
The
Yeah.
Talk for Writing website has a lot of free mentor texts. So he has a whole section on his website of free text, and he created a whole lot of free writing units for when COVID hit.
Mm.
I think there was 10 of them he gave out for free, and
Yeah.
just put them in the writing on the website, and you can still download those today. But yeah, there's quite a lot, and there's quite a few little like film clips you'll find on YouTube of Pi doing shared writing and things like that. But my only thing is, don't say that you've done training in shared writing with me, because I'm not a trainer. And as I said, I've adapted it to the situation that I've got, where I'm working around with groups of kids in lots of schools. And so I only see them a couple of sessions a week and I don't have time to do his storyboarding with pictures, and they learn the text that way. So I had to find another way to do it, and that's kind of what I've shared with you in there. But yeah.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. So when I get back home, I will look at what we're supposed to do next month. And I will let everybody know. I actually really, really appreciate that you did this, Liz, and you did such a beautiful job, and I didn't have to do it. And boy, that made my life a lot easier. Thank you. Thank you.
That's all right. That's all right. It was good. It's good to, I think, look back on what you've been doing, and
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Thank you, ladies. And so I will publish this for all of us so that we have it, so we can listen to it again. And obviously, a lot of other people missed out on a great, great learning experience. And I'll tell them that. Okay, thank you all. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving, everybody, because that's coming soon. And I'm giving thanks for all of you. And it's really special to see everybody. Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
Good night.
thank you.
Get home safely.
Thank you.
Okay. Right. All good, Sasha?
Oh, you were so good, babe.
I hope so. Yeah.
So
I hope
good.
we got some things out of it. Yeah.
I really learned a lot. So thank you. I really did.
Yeah. Can
Yeah.
you see the difference to the writing revolution kind of
Oh.
stuff from the book?
100%.
But it's still in there, isn't it?
Yes, yes, but it's
Yeah.
also an aspect that is, because I've done remediation so much, I haven't done this beautiful, wonderful analysis in a totally different area. And that's
Yeah.
very exciting to me. Very
Yeah.
exciting. Yes.
The kids they just love it. They
Yeah.
soak it up. And even the boys, when you know, as soon as you put spooky stories or suspense stories or whatever,
Yeah.
even the warning stories, they love the warning stories. Yeah, mum said this, and they go, in a grouchy voice. And I said, how would your mum say that? And they go, Thomas Smith. Thomas Smith. She never calls me Tom. She always says, Thomas Smith. Yeah.
I love it.
You know,
Love it. Oh my God.
they love it. Yeah. And we add in a little bit of drama, and we add in,
Yes,
you know, where we
yes.
can, we hit those words again. What does that mean? Act it out. What would you say? What are you
Yes.
saying in there? Okay, your mum, you're the kid, you know, and mum says, don't go down the railway lines. What are you going to say? No, mum, I won't. Oh, no, we never do that.
I
Yeah.
love it. Oh
Yeah,
gosh.
they love acting it out and doing
Oh
that
yeah.
stuff. And yeah, so
You know,
that's all of a part of it as well, you know.
yeah,
Yeah.
there is so much joy in being able to be a teacher and be with kids. I just, it's endless. It's endless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
I will,
difference,
if I can get, and I will get a copy of the lessons that I did today. I'll share it with you. And oh my God, I had so much fun. I had
yeah.
so much fun.
These guys I always have fun with doing. But you know, I've got another group where I've actually kept it like the writing revolution.
Uh-huh.
So we've just done a whole lot of writing kind of around different sentences and then putting them into paragraphs in there. Their writing is nowhere near to the level of these kids.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I had a group of 2 boys, and they've been doing that
Uh-huh.
since the start of the year,
Yeah.
and they're still nowhere near where this group is.
Yeah, I'm really, really taken with this. And I can see the value of, you know, a lot of the things that I do with Step Up to Writing, but this really gets into, I don't know, a juiciness,
Yeah,
a
yeah,
juiciness and an excitement and a, you know,
yeah. Like I say, and once the kids actually see that writing, like read back their writing, they are writers.
that's right.
And
That's,
for some of them, that's the first time they've ever felt like a writer. Yeah, so that's just like, yeah, they're so impact. They're telling me now, they're like, can we just write the next paragraph? Can we just write the next paragraph? And they're like, they never wanted to write.
I love it. I
They
love
never wanted to write. They hated writing. They hated it, and they were scared of spelling. I help them a lot with their spelling while we're doing it, because yeah, we do the talking, we do a very quick little, you know, I'll say, right, remember, you know, Y on the end it's making that E sound, put down the Y. I just tell them what to put down, but I give them that little lesson on the run
Yes, yes.
as we go. But so that we don't focus on it,
Mhm.
you know, hugely, but hopefully over time, when we keep saying it, then I start going, oh, what's that? What letter are you going to put down for that E sound? You can hear it on the end. What is it? And they'll go, why? And yeah, you got it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Just exciting new ideas and wonderful things. Thank you so much,
Oh,
really.
right. Have you got to go, Sasha?
I
When I stop the recording?
I don't know how to, why I can't see stopping the, oh, there, I can stop it.
That's great.